Hey guys, this is PCoutcast with my review for Card Detective. First of all, as a disclaimer, I did receive a free key for this game, so take that into consideration for everything I say. The developer, it was developed and self-published by a Chinese company that I can't pronounce because I can't read Chinese, but Google Translate says that it's the Detective Hotel Production Team. Whether that's accurate or not, who can say? So anyway, in this review, we're going to cover 5 points: gameplay, narrative, graphics, sound, and value. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to come right out and say I would recommend the game if you like card games. I had enough fun to enjoy it, although there are certainly some areas it could be improved. So let's start with gameplay. First of all, what is Card Detective? It's a card battle game set in a comic book style where you can build your own deck as you see fit. You can even change the deck up in between battles. So I always like those kinds of games, like ones that aren't completely dependent on RNG. So I like to be able to kind of put together a build, and this game allows me to do that. The battle setting is unique in that you are using cards to break down the mental defenses of characters that you're interviewing in an attempt to determine if they're lying or telling the truth. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that definitely caught my eye with the game. I would estimate there's about 5 to 10 hours-ish of content here. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of replayability other than trying out a couple of different deck builds. I'm actually on record for 32 hours, but I was idling the game quite a bit, so I'd say most people are probably going to get through it in the 5 to 10 hour mark. The narrative now. For gameplay, my rating is 7 out of 10. For narrative, in the story you play a reporter who's investigating an accident of a construction site, and you have to interview both witnesses and other characters to determine what happened. Is there more than meets the eye? Is there a cover-up? Was the construction company negligent? That sort of thing. True to its comic book style, characters' personalities are like wildly exaggerated and over the top, which you might find charmingly cheesy, depending on your tastes. Now, I found that neither the story nor the characters were particularly nuanced, and if you have any kind of history with narratives, you're probably going to be able to see through certain characters fairly easily. So, I give the narrative a 7 out of 10. It's not fantastic, it's not terrible. I enjoyed it. I was willing to, grind through the whole game to see what ended up happening. And, it had a satisfying end for me. So 7 out of 10 for narrative. Now, graphics. Let's go and take a look at that. All right, so as you saw there with a little bit of the sort of the story, how the story plays out like a comic book. And then here is like sort of your main screen where you can change your deck out. You can go back to your menu to change your settings. You can go to a database to learn more about the skills, language behavior, all this sort of thing, how to do questioning, and that sort of thing. All that stuff is in there. I personally wasn't super crazy about the art style. All these cards are a little bit too similar. Let's get into that. I really liked the realistic comic art style that the devs chose. But like I said, I feel like it fell a little bit flat on the card design. The cards are, of course, like hand drawn, but they're a little bit too similar. So I'd give it a 7 out of 10 on that as well. The sound, as you've been listening to, is good. I like the music. I think it sets the mood pretty well. Unfortunately, the soundtrack is limited, and there's almost no audio engineering. For example, tracks will stop abruptly, followed by a few moments of silence, and then the same track will just start over again. So that was a bit disappointing. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for sound. Actually, because of the limited amount of songs, I ended up turning the music off after about 3 hours, roughly. So, anyway, I'll give you a little bit of a taste of the card gameplay mechanics quickly. Okay, so this is the card battle screen. So it's you and your opponent here, and here are his defenses. Basically, he's got three statements. You have to determine which of them are lies and which of them are true. These two cards that have the shields, those are only, they have no like special powers or anything. They're just, they have 10 strength. This one, the patience value will be reduced by 1 when the card is destroyed. So patience value is how many turns you have to defeat their defenses and or solve the puzzle. I'll show you how to do that in a second. That's how many turns you have until that's over. This shows that there's 2 total statements. So that means there's this one, and then in the next round, a second one of these will open up next to it. The maximum was 3. I don't know if they're going to expand on that later, but the maximum that I ran into was 3. And there's also, sometimes there are up to 5 statements here as well. So let's start off by, first of all, you want to have access to this when you first start. This is the deck that I had when I finished the game. So when you finish the game, you start a new playthrough. You actually start with the cards that you ended the last one. It's kind of like a new game plus, I guess, which is nice because this is actually designed specifically for breaking the puzzles, not for destroying. It's not like brute forcing the defenses here, but that is another option. So we'll take a look at that. First of all, we're going to, so if you use one of your cards to directly attack as defense, it does not use any action points. So I'll just okay that. Let's use Recount the Past. So this card, when the strategy is used, obtain a duplicate of the strategy. So this is going to do 2 points of damage. The X, don't worry about that. That's part of the puzzle thing, but it'll do 2 points of damage to that. There you go. And it reveals these two symbols. So there's O's and X's, and they correspond to these statements over here. So what this means, and you're going to learn this in the tutorial section, is that there is a truth and a lie sequentially. So they could be, this one could be 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. You don't know what that is right now, but we can find out by using this. There you go. So it is 0. Now we don't know if this is definitely X, because we could still have a 0 and an X below here. So let's clear another one. That's also an O and an X. Okay, and let's use this one for that. And that's just an O. So I haven't been able to figure out if this actually means anything. So I'm going to pretend that it does, and we're going to do another O there and see what happens. Okay. I mean, that may or may not be the case. Now, You'll notice that my action points are still 4. That's because I've been using concise questions, which is also similar to direct questions in that if the analysis succeeds, that this is the analysis side, then you gain 2 action points. So it costs me 2 and I get 2 back. So there you go. Now we put that in there. We should break his thing and find out that these 2 are true and this one is not. And we can actually hover over these 2, I believe. I hover over it. There were so many people at the site, I couldn't have escaped. It still depends on the captain's generous leniency. So I could leave safely. So he's lying about leaving safely, but the other 2 are accurate. All right, leading statement is just costs nothing and draws 1 card from the deck, so I'm going to do that. This is one thing that I'd like I think the devs could maybe change, is this delay here where she says something and he says something. I'm not sure if there's, like, because sometimes the statements are in red and sometimes they're in green, and I haven't been able to figure out if that's, if that means anything. Like, it doesn't seem to necessarily mean anything. So, not that I've been able to figure out, but maybe you guys are a lot smarter than me, which is not really that surprising. All right, so instead of breaking the, figuring out the puzzle, I'm just going to go ahead and try and break his defenses straight up on this time. So we're going to use this one on there. We'll leave this one for later. I mean, this one is also the same thing, right? We have where you'll lose a turn when it's destroyed, so we're going to do that last. So there you go. So those are the 2 ways that I've found anyway to do the game. You can either do like kind of brute force breaking through their defenses, although later that becomes very difficult. It is possibly I haven't done it. I broke the game. I finished the game doing the puzzles. I did not try to rebuild my thing. I think I got to about a level 26, 27, something like that, with just tearing down their defenses. And then after at that point, they had so much defense that I was like, I have no idea how to continue doing this with that. Maybe with a high enough draw deck, you might be able to do it like that. I might even give that a try off camera. Anyway, let's finish off the review with value. I mean, Card Detective is less than $5 on Steam without a sale, and there's up to 10 hours of content. So I think that's a pretty good value overall. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So if we add up all of my sections and divide it, we get an overall rating of 7.2 out of 10. I think that's pretty fair. It's a decent game, fairly well balanced, fairly well polished, but it is kind of short, and it does suffer from some shortcomings, like I mentioned, the sound and some of the art style and stuff. That I mean, you might find those things completely fine. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that review, and yeah, go pick up the game if you like this sort of thing. And we will see you guys in another review. Take care.